Taxi! Taxi!
Hello, my name is KaSonya, Holland. I used to be a taxi driver in Savannah for almost 15 years. What made me want to drive cabs? Because I ended up losing my job. And when I lost my job, it was taking me a while to find a job, and my mom was driving cabs at the time, and she suggested that maybe I wanted to drive to help me make some quick money while I could get my bills caught up.
See, right where those cars used to be, the cab stands right there. What? Used to be the cab stands right here where we used to be coming to taxi and pick up customers. And we used to sit out here.
I got started in the cab business coming in as independent, pretty much driving for a different company. I had to rent another company's vehicle, which required me to pay anyway from $300 to $350 a week just renting their vehicle. So I did that for a little while, but then I realized that I could have my own company. All I needed to do was purchase me a vehicle, and that way I would cut out the middleman, and that way I wouldn't have to kick out that $300 every week plus insurance, plus maintenance on my vehicle. I had to go through the city of Savannah to get registered as a cab driver and owner, and then I had to go to get a business license. Then I was actually in business for myself like a year later. I failed to mention that I did go to business school back in the early 90s, but I went into retail business. So I never thought that I would actually have a taxi business.
Driving all the time for me was relaxing because I like the outdoors, I like the fresh air, and then I like mingling and talking to people. So I just used to get in my taxi and ride around and just enjoy the scenery.
Yes, I was nervous about starting my own company because I didn't know anything about the taxi business. Any new adventure or any new task you're going to take on, you're going to always be nervous. You're going to always want to know the pros and cons of the business, making sure you have the right paperwork intact. So of course I was nervous, but I just kept going and got more educated about what I needed to know about the business.
My favorite part about driving in Savannah was I was able to explore my city as a customer service to the public and learn more about my city and the history, because I went in places that I never would actually go, just being a regular civilian just driving around. So I learned a lot of history about Savannah.
Being in business for me in the early 2010, I think I started driving in 2009. A year later, 2010, I had my own company. It was challenging, it was lucrative, it was also tiresome, but I made it work for me because I was able to have a schedule to where I worked around my kids going to school. I was able to relax if I wanted to. If I didn't want to go to work, I didn't have to go to work. But the money was real good having my own business, and I really accomplished a lot, and I learned a lot from the business.
Across the river, we at the top of River Street, and we would drive across the bridge to go over to the Western Hotel, which is right here in the middle. That is the Savannah Convention Center. To my left, we would pick up clients from there. Big conferences come in town. We would have 10 or 15,000 people coming to the city for a conference in a week. Then we would go over there and ride across the bridge.
The cab business is different today because of technology and because of the rideshare services. Uber and Lyft came into the city, and they pretty much knocked the business down tremendously to where it was so much competition. It was hard for you to even get out here in a taxi to really make the money because they were giving fares at a cheaper rates than what the taxis were. It was was also convenient, and the technology was booming, so everybody had a palm hand held device to where they could easily just call up a ride, and it knocked the taxi business out completely. So we had taxis on the street 24 hours a day. It was so many different taxi companies in Savannah. When the city allowed Uber and Lyft to come into this city, it really took the livelihood away from a lot of the taxi owners, because that was the only income we had. So it affected us in a mighty way. You know, they took away a lot of business from a lot of people. I had to end up going out of business because the competition was just too high. It just made it bad for all the taxi companies. And I'm quite sure it affected not just Savannah, but cities all over the world.
But a lot has changed. It's not like it used to be. I see a Uber behind me now. That would have been a cab. But unfortunately, those days are gone.
I feel that Uber and Lyft rideshare is convenient. We can't get stuck in the past, you know, of how everything works nowadays. You know, technology is, you know, skyrocketed. So you have to adjust with the times. If they would go up on the rate, they would see that how the business would actually be a little more suitable. But sometimes the fares are good and sometimes they're not. But far as the taxi business, they just knocked us out.
Oh my God, y'all wouldn't believe. All the way around this curve, from this corner, all the way around here to the front of the Hyatt Hotel on Bay Street, downtown Savannah, to my left, right here where you see these awnings, all these were taxis. Every car you would see, this was a taxi stand where we sat. And we would sit out here and chit chat and talk and just enjoy the scenery, enjoy the downtown. But as you can see, there's no more taxis in sight. Not one. Not one. So this is Savannah, the historic district of Savannah. And Uber and Lyft came into the city, and now there's not one taxi in sight.
I miss the old days of the taxis because we could interact with each other. All the owners, all the drivers, we got to be family out there because we looked out for each other. If your taxi broke down or you needed someone to pick up some of your customers where you wasn't able to go get them, that was a way for you to have relationship, you know, with your co-workers, because we were out there. You know, we would get together and we would have lunch dates, you know, when we have a little break when it's slow. And then we would have taxi stands to where we would sit at the hotels, we would sit at the train stations, we would sit at the bus stations, and we would just mingle. We would laugh, we would eat our lunch, we would talk, we would have fun. And that's what I miss, because you were more interactive, you know, with your co-workers. And it was very nice. And I miss that about being in cab business.
I had a lot of clientele with some of the hotels used to call me, and I had so much business till I had to get other taxi companies to come and help me, because they would call me all the time to pick up clients, take them to dinner, take them to the airport, take them to the train station, bus station, movie theater, shopping, whatever. So I frequent a lot of hotels downtown, and that's where a lot of revenue in the business came from.
The best lesson I've learned about driving a taxi is when you have a business, you have to save. And that was one of the things. When you're making fast money, that money come and that money go. As fast as you make it, it's gone, because you have all this cash on hand. But the one thing that I know that I wish I would done different was saving, investing. But at the end of the day, I still took care of my children in the cab company. I raised my children driving a cab for over 15 years. So moving forward, if I was to even venture into opening another business, I know the do's and don'ts, and you know how far I could go. You know, I know I could do it because I never thought I would actually own a whole company. So yeah, it's a lot of things that I could do different.
This is JW Marriott. This is one of the newest hotels downtown on the river. When we had the taxis, this wasn't here. So as you can see, the city has really got a big old facelift. And we used to sit down here, go to the bars, pick up and down the river, dinner, lunch, dinner. It didn't matter.
Some of my best moments of driving the cabs was the people. It was just so funny because intoxicated people are funny. I mean, you see some of everything. I mean, and then some of the moments where you have the elderly and then you look out for them and you assist them with their bags and their luggage and maybe someone's lost. But the best thing for me driving a cab was getting a good rapport with the families of the students of SCAD, the Savannah College of Art and Design. I had such a good clientele to where the parents would call me. They would be in a whole nother state and they would call me if something was to happen to one of their kids, and they would call me and wake me up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Maybe they had a raid party and they got busted and some of the kids would go to jail. The parents would call me and I would get up out my bed 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and go pick the kids up from jail and take them back to their dorms or whatever. So for that, me just being loved by people who only met me, just giving them a ride, that made me feel like, you know, I was doing something, that I was giving back to the community in some type of way.
Well, this is the main street, Congress Street. Everybody will say, well, meet me on Congress Street. Meet me on Congress Street. All the clubs, you'll see nothing but cabs riding around. Have you seen a cab yet? Not one in sight, period. This is one of the SCAD housing units. Cabs will sit right in front of the SCAD building. The students leave a week before Thanksgiving for winter break. They don't come back until maybe the 2nd or 3rd week of January. And we will sit out here starting as early as 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning to pick up the students and take them home, take them to the airport so they can go home for the holidays. And that's where we would sit. And you would just pick up, drop off, pick up, drop off, pick up, drop off, pick up all day long in Texas. I have not seen not one taxi since we've been riding around.
Transitioning from the taxi company back into the real world, back to working, I ended up going back to school. So I went to nursing school at Savannah Tech, and I say, as long as I get my nursing license, no matter where I decide to go, recession-proof job, I won't have to worry about, oh, this business is going to close down or technology is going to change some more. So me going to Savannah Tech for nursing, it was really rewarding. I was comfortable. I loved my instructors. My classmates were good. For a while, for the taxi business, it really hurt a little bit, you know, because now my livelihood is gone. I got a little depressed because, I mean, that was something that was very rewarding to me. But all in all, it was a good transition because now I'm a certified nurse of the state of Georgia and I'm able to go and work in any facility that I want. So it just pushed me to do what I was called to do, and that was basically to go work into the healthcare system. So me being at Savannah Tech, graduating from Savannah Tech just recently, I think I've done well, you know, with all the adversities that came about losing the taxi business, but I'm doing well now in the nursing field.
This is one of the hotels that I would get calls from, or either bring clients from the airport, drop off. This one another historic hotels, Old Harbor Inn, been around for umpteen years. And as you can see downstairs, you can ride down on the river, and you can go drop people off at the entrance down there, or you can drop them off up here. So there's 2 floors to this hotel. Along the left side, right here, used to be taxi stands on this side of the street. It would always be to my left. Being in the taxi business, I learned a lot. I grew a lot. And I met a lot of people. I met a lot of friends. My passengers, they were great from all walks of life, different cities, different states, different countries. It was just fun just to be out when they was celebrating holidays or they was, coming out just to mingle downtown. St. Patty's were big. Halloween was big. And I just fell in with them, just enjoying life, laughing, talking, and they enjoyed. I played music for my customers, and we just had fun. And I try to give them as much comfort as they needed while they was with me, providing them safe and adequate transportation. And I made a lot of friends, and I'm still friends with some of my passengers to this day.